Welcome to I Wrote to You. This is Mark Stouffer. And in this video, I want to talk to you about how to overcome and thrive when there is subtle influence in your life that just sometimes is so inviting that you don't see it for what it is until it escalates to a point where then you start to have this gut feeling, right? I've had relationships. I have a relationship with somebody that I enjoyed surfing with and cycling with and spearfishing with, and it was like, yes, this is exciting because I love the physical aspect and the social aspect of these environments that I was in. And then on the other side of things, there was some business proposals, and I'm going to stay in my lane. And I'm really not interested. But then the pressure became more and more like, if we're friends, why wouldn't we, do this? And I realized that this person was in trouble. I had the gut feeling like, okay. And then there was alcohol, and then there was, drug use. And then I go, oh, okay, this is going south. Been there, done that with my family growing up. I see it for what it is. All those little tiny indicators, those little influences that start to present themselves. And you call them elephants, the elephant in the room. And they're little baby elephants. They're sometimes so cute, when there's laughter and there's drugs and there's, it's like, oh man, life, blue sky, and you're like, no, not really. I see things getting a little gray. I see the storm on the horizon. I could see the white caps in the cloud formation. And this is where, I exit the relationship, because it's going to be toxic, and you don't want to get caught in the crossfire of stupidity, right? That's what it comes down to. And so you have to be aware enough to say, okay, I have to be accountable to myself. I've got to set boundaries on myself to not engage. And this is where it goes back to growing up and having, quote, family. And for everybody's your family when you're growing up in a gang mentality. And, you're in a car and you realize that, somebody's driving reckless and they're passing a car on a blind corner, and they're laughing like it's Russian roulette, because if a car's coming up the other way, everybody dies. You're on a mountain, you're on a ridge, and there's no room for 3 cars to get around the same corner at the same time, especially oncoming traffic. And the person next to you that you're passing, the terrified look in their eyes, those are indicators. They're indicators that, okay, game over. If there was an accident and you're injured, whose fault is it? It's yours, because you knew better. You know the character of the person that you're in the car with. At least I did. And so those inner voices, those subtle influences of like, hey, let's go for a ride. Let's, go up on the mountain. We used to hang out and we had such a great time. You have to know that person is still the same person they were when they were 10. Sometimes when people start doing drugs at an early age, they never mature past that age. If they started doing drugs when they were 12, they're still a 12-year-old, and they're 40 or 50 or 60 if they're still doing drugs. And it's a sad truth. I've seen it. And, they look like they're 20, 30 years older, and you just have to separate yourself from that toxicity. I don't care if family or not, it doesn't matter. Misery likes company. And, they'll sink your boat and they'll blame you for it. That's how it works in that environment. So, I hope this message finds you well and reaches your heart and mind. I hope you don't find yourself in these toxic experiences. But I will tell you, every level there's a new devil. And these kinds of things, they present themselves. They're this subtle, sometimes very subtle influences where you go, okay, this could go bad, and that suggestion is not a good one. That we're not going to do that. We're not going to shut off the video cameras, the security cameras, and that's just the mention of, hey, we could do this, or we could just go ahead and delete that section of camera footage, and all those little tiny things. It's like, nah, that's not where we're going to go. And why? To what gain? And most people don't think about is not to what gain, but to what loss. And I think about a friend that I was driving with, and we went to a really nice banquet, and it was paid for by all the vendors, and it was $500 a plate, and great time. And then there was a little bit too much alcohol. And then he says, hey, I'm designated driver, and he's pushing my leg down to go faster because you say, hey, this car can do 160 or whatever it was. And I said, it doesn't matter. I said, I've worked way too hard to, test how fast your car goes, and I wasn't interested, but he wouldn't take no for an answer. I almost pulled over and called the police myself. And, I just realized that this is a person I don't want anything to do with ever. It's not worth it, because that was an indication of who he is. And I will tell you, it didn't end well. So with that, I hope this reaches your heart and mind. I know these challenges, we all have to face in one capacity or another. And this is about accountability. We don't ignore, we don't deny, we don't blame. We be accountable, 100% accountable to ourselves, setting boundaries on ourselves, not to engage with people in this capacity that don't have strong integrity and character, and could potentially go sideways and people get hurt. And if you are in that boat or in that car and you get hurt, whose fault is it? It's yours, because you knew better, and you got to do what you got to do. And you don't have to explain yourself. That's the other thing I've learned too, is that you take the actions and you don't have to explain yourself. That's sometimes the safest thing to do to get out of that, crab bucket syndrome. So with that, I hope this inspires you, reaches your heart and your mind, gives you the inspiration and the courage to take the actions you need to take to live an extraordinary life. And with that, I wish you well.